to address issues of human rights abuses, experts in the mining sector has called on the state government to enforce laws that will govern business enterprises to respect human rights in the region. This was deliberated at a visual conference organized by Global Rights Nigeria on Tuesday in Abuja. These experts say oftentimes citizens' rights have been infringed, especially in conflict-affected areas, due to the state negligence in performing their duties towards protecting the rights of its citizens. According to them, the United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights clearly buttress due diligence to any company's activities throughout their operations, aimed at mitigating violation challenges, stressing that such abuses will require appropriate mechanisms to prevent, investigate, and due punishment through effective policies and regulations by state actors.
Foundational principles for states' duty to protect, businesses' duty to respect, and to ensure access to remedies where there are violations. States have a duty to protect against human rights abuse in their territories and jurisdiction by third parties, including business enterprises. And this requires taking appropriate steps to prevent, investigate, punish, and redress such abuse through effective policies, legislation, regulation, and adjudication. States need to set out clearly the expectations that all business enterprises domiciled in their territory or in their jurisdiction respect human rights throughout their operation. Now, while states are not obligated to regulate the foreign activities of companies within their territory, some human rights treaty bodies recommend that own states should take steps to prevent abuses abroad by business enterprises within their jurisdiction. The duty to protect, also in meeting their needs for the duty to protect, states need to enforce laws that are aimed at or have the effect or requiring business enterprises to respect human rights and periodically to assess the adequacy of such laws and to fulfill any gaps, and also to ensure that other laws and policies governing the creation and the ongoing operations of business enterprises, such as corporate law, do not constrain, but enable businesses respect human rights. And this means that they should avoid infringing on human rights of others and should address adverse human rights impacts in which they are involved. The responsibility of business enterprises to respect human rights refers to internationally recognized human rights understood at minimum as those expressed in the International Bill of Rights and the principles concerning fundamental rights set out in the International Labour Organization's Declaration on Fundamental Principles and the Rights at Work. The responsibility to respect human rights requires business enterprises, one, to avoid causing or contributing to adverse human rights impact through their own activities and address such impacts when they occur. Two, to seek to prevent or mitigate adverse human rights impacts that are directly linked to their own operations, products, or services by their business relationships, even if they have not contributed to those impacts.
Emphasizing that business enterprises should respect human rights. It's because one way or the other, they violate human rights. Virtually almost all the human rights that are recognized in international instruments and in our national legislations, in our national constitutions. So that's why we have the debate that they respect human rights, and instruments like or initiatives like the United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights have been introduced to ensure that businesses respect human rights.
The highlights are to ensure that business enterprises avoid contributing to adverse human rights impacts through their own activities while seeking to address such impact when it occurs. I am Vincent Okushi, reporting for Quality Television.